Natural disasters, man-made conflicts, and crises are increasing in both volume and complexity, impacting populations and infrastructure around the world. Emergency teams on the ground need quick and reliable insights to deliver successful operations in often challenging environments. Meet Pix4D React, the drone mapping software that provides rapid situational awareness in the field for quick decisions and collaboration. Developed with the help of emergency responders, Pix4D React is designed to be the optimal 2D fast mapping software for public safety and humanitarian aid professionals. Pix4D React is a force multiplier, enabling you to deliver critical insights when internet connection is unreliable and time is of the essence. It provides the key features to enable anyone to easily create, compare, document, and share maps. Get your 1-month free trial and access information to respond faster, protect, and save more lives with Pix4D React.
Fantastic. Let's get officially started now. My name is Angit Singh. You'll see my photo and my name typed out in a moment on the next slide here. And I will be your moderator for this rapid tactical mapping in public safety and disaster response webinar, co-hosted by Pix4D in conjunction with DroneResponders. And with that, I would like to introduce our panel today. Oh, actually, before that, my apologies. Really quickly, we have a large number of attendees on the webinar. Thank you, everybody, for dialing in and listening in to what we have today. I think it'll be very interesting for you. But first, we want to get to know who's out there a little bit better. So there will be a poll question available on the right-hand side of your screen in the GoToWebinar screen. And if you could go ahead and please respond what your background is or what industry you're primarily operating in, then we can get a better understanding of who's listening and who's with us here today. And so we'll just give everybody about 10 to 15 seconds to go ahead and answer that question, and then we'll move on to introduce our panelists. Fantastic. Thank you very much for answering that question, everybody. We really do appreciate it. Through the process of this webinar, we will have a couple other questions to try and keep it interactive between when each panelist speaks. And hopefully that also will give us here at Pix4D some very useful information on how we can move forward and better serve our customer base. So with that, I think it's time to introduce our panelists. I'm really happy to introduce today on the webinar, we have Christopher Todd. He's the Executive Director for the Airborne International Response Team based out of Miami, Florida. We have Coit Kessler, who's a firefighter, as well as the Program Manager with the Austin Fire Department's Robotic Emergency Disaster Team, or the RED Team. And then in addition, we have Drew Jerkovsky, who's a police officer and representing the law enforcement side from Fort Collins Police Department. I'm actually sitting with him here in Fort Collins Police Department in Fort Collins, Colorado. So thank you very much for hosting me, Drew. I do appreciate it. And I think with that, the format of the webinar is we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you Pix4D React, which is our new public safety specific software, which is why all of us are here today. And then from there, we're going to hear from first Drew, then Chris, and then Coit to go through different applications and use cases and how they've utilized the product in the field, being public safety professionals. So why we're here today really is to talk about Pix4D React and talk about drone mapping for the public safety market. I think Pix4D React is a tremendous innovation within the field of mapping, because very simply, it's a mapping technology that really you can get it. It improves your workflows. It's faster. It is safer when utilized in the field for the public safety workflows. And in addition, it's a much cheaper, or we should say economically efficient option, where this has not really existed before. A lot of times with technological innovation, we say you can get 2 of the 3. You can usually get faster and safer, or you can get safer and cheaper, but very rarely can you get all 3. And I think with drone mapping and Pix4D React, I think that we've done a very good job developing this product line, and we really have enabled a tool that enables public safety workflows to be faster, safer, and cheaper. And so I'm really proud to bring that to you today. And with that, really quickly, we'll go through the Pix4Dreact workflow. This is what you as the end user would actually do in the field. So very simply, you would connect your drone, and Pix4Dreact here at Pix4D, we're hardware agnostic. We work with the majority of drones available on the market today. Specific to Pix4Dreact, we support the most popular drone models as well as the most popular drones in public safety. And typically, if you have a product, we probably know about it and we've supported it in the software. If it's not supported, you let us know and we make sure that we make that happen. So very simply, the workflow is you arrive on site using Pix4D Capture, which is our free flight planning application available for both Android and iOS. You show up on site, you can see the base satellite map of the area that you want to fly. You draw a polygon or a square around that area and you say take off. The drone's going to autonomously fly that mission, flying in a one-more pattern, taking a tremendous number of photos, and then once that drone is finished its autonomous capture, it comes back and lands, and then you have to physically take the SD card out with the images, put those onto a computer, and then process in our desktop-based software. Pix4Dreact is 100% desktop-based. It does not require the cloud for data processing, and we did that specifically for the public safety market because we want to ensure that folks are comfortable with where their data exists, and typically within the closed system of a desktop, you don't have to worry about that cloud access or some of the other information security protocols that are associated. So that's the workflow. It's very simply fly, land, and process, and then get that deliverable and work with that deliverable. And so now if we can go on to the next slide, here we're going to play a video. This is the live processing of Pix4Dreact. After we go ahead and show you how the software actually works, we're going to have some of the panelists talk on the application. So here we've opened up Pix4Dreact. We've gone ahead to the bottom right-hand side of the screen and pressed the new project button. At this point, you very simply take your mouse to the import images button, import all the images, and then here you see all these blue dots. All of the blue dots represent the geotag or the GPS coordinate of that image itself. And then we just took our mouse to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and press start processing. I want everyone to know that this is the live processing. We have not adjusted the speed. We have not adjusted anything. This is the fastest commercially available photogrammetry algorithm that's ever been produced, and it's been produced specifically for the public safety market. I think what's really special about this is that actually the slowest part of the algorithm is importing the images. Once all of the images have been imported, the software goes through all the images and it says, hey, I can see the same point in these 3 or 4 different images. Let me go ahead and kind of just glue that area together. We call it stitching or we call it mosaicing. The point is that when we make a map, we should be able to make accurate measurements. And that's the whole point. When, they say an image is 1,000 words. When we're trying to communicate pre-operation or post-operation in the public safety realm, we don't want that to be the case. We want everybody to be able to see the exact same thing, to make an accurate measurement, and to assure that everybody on the team is on the same page. And with that, it's important to apply these algorithms to your images so that you can make a map. The whole purpose of that map is to ensure that you can make those accurate measurements and have that clear and constant communication. And you cannot make an accurate measurement from a photo. So from a normal picture, you cannot make a measurement. When you apply the algorithms from Pix4D and make the map, you can make an accurate map. And so here the map's been produced. I want you to know that that's about 33 images, maybe 2.5 acres. And it took just about 1 minute and 40 seconds on a normal computer. So you don't need a powerful computer for this workflow. This software is a very light application. It works on Windows 10, and it's been developed to work on the computers that folks in the public safety realm already have. Here we're going ahead and you can click on items or areas of interest in the software, and you can give them names, you can annotate them, you can find that GPS coordinate. So if you're looking for evidence in the field, or you have a particular location where you want to do an entrance for a mission, you know exactly where that GPS coordinate is, and everybody can communicate with that. In addition, you have the ability to make measurements, both area and distance. So for example, if you're pre-planning for an event and you want to know exactly what the size of that side yard is to determine how many vehicles can be parked in there, well, you can get that answer very simply. And then in addition, if you want to know what the distance from area A to B is, for example, let's say you're with a TAC team and you have to do an entrance and you want to know how far do my men have to run from where their vehicle is to where that front door is, you can very easily make that measurement and save that within the software itself. And so Pix4D React has been designed to be very simple. It's been designed to be fast. It's designed to be cost effective, and it's designed to work on the computers that you already have. And with that, you also have a couple extra options for exporting. For example, here on the screen, you're seeing that we're exporting this PDF, or sorry, we're exporting our processed map as a PDF report. It's very simple for anyone to go ahead and email that PDF report. And then here you can see that you have a PDF report with all of your annotations available. That's one of the main outputs. And the reason that we set that in there is because we want folks to be able to send that data. For example, if you're pre-planning for an event and you make that map, you should be able to very easily email it to all the other folks that are involved so that they have a clear understanding of what we're looking at. And I think that's pretty much an end-to-end example of how Pix4D React as a software works. That's a live demo. That's the real speed of processing. And now here we have an example PDF report from a different mission. This is actually a PDF report that I did with a wildfire training down in southern Georgia a couple weeks ago. And this is a map where you can see the smoke. And I think that's really important because Pix4D React is the first commercially available software, photogrammetry software, that can map smoke and map water. Now, it does it most of the time, it does it pretty well. You know, if there's a ton of smoke, if it's really hazy, if it's very thick, maybe it won't be as good. But there's obviously photogrammetry has some aspects of what you're looking at, and that affects the map. But for the most part, this is a tremendously powerful algorithm, and it can go ahead and process stuff that we haven't been able to process before. And I think that allows us to use it operationally in many more applications than previously available. And so I'm really happy with this PDF report export. I know a lot of the folks that I've demoed this to and users of our software, they really appreciate it, very simply because we're producing a tremendous amount of data, but you have to be able to share that data. If you can't share that data, there's no point making it. And so with that, that's kind of an end-to-end of the Pix4D React workflow, how the software looks like, a live demo of the processing, a demonstration of the quality, and now an example of the exported PDF report. And with that, I want to go ahead and I want to transition over to our first speaker, Drew Drakowski. He's a police officer with Fort Collins Police Department, sitting next to me here today. Once again, Drew, thanks for having me. And just so everybody else knows, all three of our speakers here today are technical experts with DroneResponders. And Christopher Todd, when he speaks after this, he'll give us a little bit more information on DroneResponders and how they operate. And so with that, Drew, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me today, and welcome to Fort Collins Police Department. We're happy to have you. So a little bit about me is that I've been a police officer with Fort Collins Police Services for 20 years. I'm currently assigned to our traffic enforcement unit, and I have two main job responsibilities that really I work a lot as an accredited crash reconstructionist, and then I'm also an assistant team lead for our UAS team, where my specialization's in mapping. As you can see on there, I'm a certified mapping scientist through ASPRS. So we implement a lot of their standards in our workflow.
Very cool. So in addition, Drew, can you just share with the audience what your experience with Pix4D is, what your experience with drones are, and also to our audience, just so you guys know, we are taking questions. There is a chat window. If you have anything of interest, if it's something pops into your head, go ahead and type it in the chat window, and at the end, we'll be able to address a few. So thank you. And once again, Drew, what's your experience with Pix4D?
So I started using drones for mapping collision scenes under a National Institute of Justice grant in 2014, and started using Pix4D almost exclusively in 2016. Our agency's UAS program went live in July of 2017, and we've been using Pix4D Mapper for all of our photogrammetry needs, whether it be for accident scenes or crime scenes since then.
Okay, very cool. Well, thanks for joining us. I mean, it's clear that you've been doing this for a lot longer than most people, and that's exactly why we wanted you to share. So the first question really is Pix4D Mapper versus Pix4D React. Pix4D Mapper is our flagship solution. It's the software that's allowed us to generate the brand that we have. It's the tool that you first started using. But can you tell us the differences between the two? And in your position as a collision reconstructionist, would you use Pix4D React?
So I would, and our agency, like you said, we currently use Pix4D Mapper for almost all of our processing. We are very interested in Pix4D React for a couple different solutions. So I've got some questions on there that we typically ask ourselves between using Pix4D Mapper versus Pix4D React. Briefly, Pix4D Mapper for us is a very robust photogrammetry software solution, gives us lots of options. We use it for scene analysis. It lets us do the accurate measurements, especially vertical measurements. It lets us do detailed and complex scene reconstructions and 3D visualizations. The other piece we use of that is output options. It has a lot of demonstrative outputs, and it lets us export out our data to other software that we can use for reconstruction. It's our go-to when we're talking about criminal or civil proceedings. If we want to give any kind of measurements based on that. Now, Pix4Dreact, we're very interested in that because it gives us, it's fast, it's easily deployable. We will use it almost exclusively for demonstrative purposes, but I think its greatest value is in decision quality data. It lets us get that data out to the decision makers rapidly so that they can start making those good decisions.
Okay, so basically, Pix4D Mapper, it takes in on the images, it takes a long time to process, or not a long time, but sometimes a decent amount of time to process, depending on your computer. But you trust the measurement accuracy out of that to half an inch or less than that, depending on your workflow. Whereas with Pix4Dreact, it's not designed to give you that really, really high resolution accuracy. So you would use it when you need it in the field to make fast and accurate maps, maybe for operational applications. But when it's collision scene, you're probably going to use Pix4D Mapper.
Yes, so anything that we're going to need to do some greater analysis or go to trial with, we probably use Mapper. Whereas quick decision making, we're going to React to be very helpful.
Awesome. And so I guess now we're going to go through some of your projects and what you've actually done.
Yeah, so just to kind of demonstrate that a little bit, I wanted to show some Mapper projects. These are some actual cases that we've been working. You'll notice that we work almost exclusively in point clouds when we're doing our analysis. So this was a motorcycle crash. If you look on the picture on the left, motorcycle was coming from the top of your screen toward the bottom. This was at nighttime. We suspect that speed was involved. Motorcycle goes off the right side of the roadway, falls across this ditch and hits into the opposite side. It's important for those who are reconstructionists that are listening. I mean, you would know that for a fall equation, what we're talking about is a critical speed equation. So it's very important we get good estimates or good measurements of horizontal distance, which we can see in the picture on the left, but the picture on the right is going to give us the ability to get really good measurements vertically, and that's going to be important for our fall equation. We're going to need that accuracy so we can go back and figure out how fast this motorcycle was going when this crash occurred, and this would be something we would use in a civil or criminal proceeding, and that's why it's important we use it in this software. The next couple slides are going to be related to a crash that we had last year. That this was again, you're going to see this is the only ortho photo picture I'm going to show you from Pix4D Mapper. And the reason I show it to you is this is how we would use it at trial. That this is really more of a demonstrative project for me to show you what happened in the crash. That this was a suspect that had burglarized a pawn shop, stole several assault rifles, and eluded police officers. So where you see on this, the far left-hand side, there's a truck that's up against the building there. That's the suspect vehicle. He was going on their screen from right to left, came through this intersection. Those three cars in the intersection were stopped for a red light. He rear-ended the back of them and then continued on and hit the building. We investigated this as a first-degree murder case. So obviously this is going to need to be pretty in-depth. This was a high-speed collision, 2 people killed. So this is how I would use this picture demonstratively. We go on to the next slide. What we're looking at this is a purely demonstrative product. That this is what we can get from Mapper. That we can take those Google tiles, we can overlay them in Google Maps, and it really helps connect all the items of evidence that I'm talking about at trial. It allows me to orient jurors where they're familiar with the city and they have an idea of which direction the car is going. We have the ability to zoom into that picture at any place and get down to where we can see the tar lines in the street, be able to show evidence. So it's highly demonstrative, and that's how we would potentially use this. This is the point clouds we talked about. All of our measurements are taken in this point cloud, and you can see how clear it is for us to be able to take some of those. The other benefit of this is that we can turn points on and off if there's certain things we want to show or things we want out of our imagery. Or out of that point cloud. We can also perfect our 3D models using this, and we can really we can start using this to export to other software if we want to, which leads us to the next slide. So this is, we'll see how well this plays, but this is where we take the point cloud and we put it into animation software where we could time the truck and we could tell the truck, we want you to go 98 miles per hour and drive down the path through the point cloud of what this driver would have seen. So it's another application of being able to do animation work where we can actually time it with our reconstruction work, but use the point cloud from Pix4D. The next couple of slides I would like to show you are just ones that are, this is how we would use Pix4Dreact. This is how I see us using it for crash reconstruction. Again, this is going to be something that we see as being highly demonstrative. So we're looking at our own agency as being able to create more of these automated crash reports. So as part of that, we need to be able to bring in diagrams or pictures or somehow show the overall scene. So with this, with the picture of the crash, what we're able to do is rapidly, we can fly that, we can rapidly create it. You can see this is 83 images in 4 minutes. We can now export that as a PDF or as a JPEG, which are both very easy for us to import into our automated reporting system. So it's a way for us in serious bodily injury crashes where we may not call out the full reconstruction team to do the Pix4D mapper work, but we would bring this out and it would still let us document the scene quite well. So this was a head-on crash that we're showing here. The next one I would show you is a crime scene. And this is one that was at a park in town. So what's nice about this is you can see the entire park. This is the kind of picture I would show a jury, or I could show some of the detectives when they arrive at the scene for some of their planning. But you can see where the entrance points are to the park. There's one in the upper left, one in the lower right. What happened in this case is the victim comes in from the upper left, walks down this walk path, meets up with another guy at the park benches there at the meetup place. They end up having a bit of a drug deal that goes bad. They walk over to where that covered area is, and one ends up getting stabbed there. There's a patrol vehicle from the lower right that comes up the bike path there and renders aid, ends up saving that guy. But it lets us show how the whole scene happened and tell our story. The other thing that's nice about this is we can do gross measurements. So that's a school that's in the lower part of that screen. So if we wanted to know how far it was from where this drug deal is happening with the school while this is happening during a school day, that may trigger some additional laws that are violated. So it's a quick way for us to do that. Finally, I always want to show you a SWAT thing. That this was one that we did where we had a SWAT service warrant for this house. You can see it's a long rectangular plot. It's covered, has fences all the way around it, but it has a big open area in the back and 4 structures in the front with a nice highway in front. So there's really no way for the SWAT team to approach this very easily without letting everyone know that they're coming. So the way we use this is we flew the drone overhead, process those images rapidly. We could bring those back to the SWAT commander to where they can see what the scene looks like an hour before this warrant gets served. SWAT commander can now put in all the tags of where they want patrol officers to go, where they want them to block off the roads, where they want TAC teams to be at, where they want overwatch positions to be. And now we can take this into a SWAT briefing and everyone can see where they're supposed to be, what it looked like within the last hour, and they can go out and serve this warrant. So it's great intel and reconnaissance for us when we're getting ready to do some of those high-risk missions.
Yeah, this is really cool, Drew. I really like this. And I like the way that with each map you've showed us, you've also showed how much time it took to process on your department-issued computers. I mean, 66 images in 6 minutes is pretty impressive. I mean, we know that. We know Pix4Dreact is a cool software. That's why we're doing this webinar. But I think that being able to do these little things, pre-planning, understanding exactly what that scene looks like, having the latest intel prior to making that hit, these are all things that I want my the individuals in my community that are out there doing this work to know, because I think it makes your lives a little safer. And that's personally why I get excited about doing this type of work too. But that's really cool. Thank you. So you do see that there's a place for Pix4Dreact in that law enforcement realm, maybe not with all of your collision work, but with a lot of other applications within law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So with that, thank you so much, Drew. Really do appreciate it. And I believe before we head on to the next presenter, we have a poll question for the audience. So this poll question will be, it'll pop up here in a second, but this is going to be related to thermal mapping. So what is your interest in thermal mapping capabilities? We're going to give everybody about 10 seconds here to go ahead and click one of them. And essentially what we're asking is, are the folks on this webinar, are you interested in being able to make thermal maps incredibly fast using a software like Pix4Dreact? Because currently it doesn't exist on the market, and it would take a little bit of R&D, but we want to see what folks out there would do. Because if it's a tool you would use, if you would map in thermal, should we look into it? And just to follow up on that last question, if you answered yes, what type of resolution would you really be looking for in that thermal map? Do you want to just be able to see a house versus a lawn? Do you want to be able to dictate where a human is versus another human? Do you want to be able to see something really small on the ground? And how small does that thing actually have to be? So this just gives us an idea of what folks out there in the public safety realm and the humanitarian aid sectors would be thinking about if they were mapping with thermal. Give you a couple more seconds to answer that one there. And just so you guys know, we will be sharing the results of these polls in the follow-up email, where you're going to get a couple cool links. So thank you very much. Awesome. And with that, I think we're going to move on to our second panelist of the day. And here we have Chris Todd. So Christopher Todd is the Executive Director of AIRT, the Airborne International Response Team, which is also the home of DroneResponders, who's our official co-sponsor for this webinar. So Chris is going to go ahead and tell us a little bit about DroneResponders, his experience with drones, his background with Pix4D, and goes through an operation that they were involved with recently that I think is really powerful stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, OnGod. And hey, everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Chris, Executive Director of the Airborne International Response Team. We are a 501c3 organization based down in Florida, and proud to be the home of DroneResponders, which is the world's fastest growing nonprofit program supporting public safety UAS. DroneResponders is led by retired Fire Chief Charles Werner, based in Virginia, and I just want to give him a shout out. He's been doing a great job in building this program, and we have a lot of resources available free of charge online. Visit DroneResponders.org and learn how you can become involved. A little bit more about me. I'm a certified emergency manager and a Florida professional emergency manager. I also serve as a command staff member of the South Florida All Hazards Incident Management Team based out of the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Department in West Palm Beach. So Drew showed some really great examples of tactical mapping using Pix4Dreact. I'm going to show you how we thought it could really potentially provide some benefits for emergency management and disaster response. So if we want to go to the next slide, I think everyone remembers a little more than 90 days ago, Major Hurricane Dorian churning through the Caribbean, headed north and took that famous left hook and started going right into the northern Bahamas, making landfall on the island of Abaco on September 1st. It was actually the most powerful hurricane to ever hit the Bahamas. It struck Marsh Harbor as a Category 5 with 220 mile per hour winds and more than a 20-foot storm surge, which really decimated the low-lying parts of all of those islands. AIRT responded with recon elements of the South Florida All Hazards Incident Management Team. We were based out of Palm Beach International Airport using small aircraft to travel in each day. And we started by going to Nassau, coordinating with the Bahamian government, getting our flight control numbers from NEMA, which is the National Emergency Management Agency, then proceeded to Freeport, and finally on day 2 worked our way over to Marsh Harbor. And if we want to go to the next slide, for those of you familiar with emergency management, you know that the damage assessment is really important right after a significant event or an incident. You want to see basically the scope of what you're dealing with, how bad is bad, and you want to get a grasp on where you want to send the resources and the aid to the people who need it. So the traditional method for that has been a windshield survey, where search squads and search teams will drive around, much like you see in the bottom photo there, to conduct a preliminary damage assessment They will check structures if needed to see if they're occupied, if there's people there who might need help. But it's typically performed at ground level by moving automobiles, and those types of searches can traditionally be impeded by obstacles and debris, such as timber in the road, debris in the road, where it makes it really difficult to conduct those searches. Additionally, there's a resource allocation involved, right? You've got all of the professional search teams typically use force protection or force pro, which are law enforcement or security personnel who will accompany them in conducting these operations. And the reason they do that is nefarious things can happen in disasters. I won't get into that right now, but just keep in mind that the resource allocation can make this a very cost-intensive process. But if you go to the next slide, we'll get a kind of an idea on what happens when you start using aerial reconnaissance as part of this this search. And basically, with a wide area damage assessment, you can look at a much larger area of the impact zone, and whether that be a landfall zone for a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, whatever the disaster is, the higher you go, the wider the perspective you're going to have on how bad the damage is. And incident commanders really need that to understand the size, the scope of the incident, and again, that helps them direct the aid into the response. And large disasters require either more resources or better perspectives. And as you see in the photos there, as we got a little bit higher with the drone, you can get a much better perspective on what the debris field looks like compared to when we were driving around at ground level in those vehicles. And there were 1.5 billion pounds of debris in Marsh Harbor alone that is still being removed as of this day. So quite a task for emergency managers and the search rescue squads to go in. So aerial rapid damage assessment via UAS drones provide the capability for ground-based search teams to rapidly conduct aerial damage assessments. And basically, UAS can fly before other flexed aircraft return to the theater. And a great case example for that was Hurricane Irma that came up through the bottom of Florida, and most of the aircraft in the southern part of Florida were flexed up to Orlando to the Orange County Convention Center, which meant as that massive Hurricane Irma was moving up through Florida, there were no air assets in South Florida, in Miami, that could launch immediately after the storm went through. Hurricane Irma was between where they had gone to and where they were needed. Drones were really the only air force that was available to get eyes up and on the damage. As Drew talked about, Pix4D Mapper has been a tool that we've historically used, and it's been really powerful. But the choke point has been the processing of those 2D ortho maps. It really wasn't conducive to process that in the field. You needed an internet connection. And as we saw with Hurricane Michael, when the internet is down, when you have no mobile connectivity, you're looking for a place to go to process those images. So Pix4Dreact actually represents what we think is a game-changing solution for how disaster response operations can be conducted. And if we want to go to the next slide. So basically, here is the condition for how we tested Pix4D in the Bahamas. It was a very austere environment. There was no internet. There was no cellular connection. No mobile connectivity. You see there in the top photo, twin-engine aircraft. Those are the types of aircraft we were flying into the Bahamas with, which meant that weight was an issue. We had to travel really light. We were not bringing generators. We were not bringing fuel. It was basically whatever we could carry on our back. And so we had a backpack kit with a Panasonic Toughbook, a GPC case that had a Mavic 2 Pro, and of course, Pix4D Capture, we had pre-cached with maps of the Bahamian Islands. And I can't stress how important that was. If we had gotten over there without caching the maps, this would have been a no-go, because we needed to have the maps so to be able to coordinate the flight operations. And then we had Pix4Dreact installed on a Panasonic Toughbook 31. It was actually an older model Toughbook running Windows 7, but we wanted to see how it was going to perform on on something that wasn't necessarily the state of the art system. And we also had a two-way handheld aviation radio, which was really essential because there were military, civilian operations, air operations taking place all over, and the air traffic control was essentially down at the point we were there, so we needed to coordinate with them. So going into the actual test, 28-minute flights at 350 feet above ground level, rapid upload to the Toughbook 31. It probably took maybe 2 minutes or so max to get those all in. It was really quick compared to what we were used to with the old process on Mapper and using the internet upload, which could take up to an hour for all those to upload. The output turnaround time, what was really amazing, it was 45 minutes to process on the Toughbook 31. And in talking with OnGod and the team at Pix4D, we think if we had a newer model machine, probably running Windows 10 or better, that would have been significantly diminished. But still, 45 minutes was a massive improvement from what we had seen in the past, where the workflow was basically upload to the internet. It could take up to 6 to 8 hours or overnight to have a map process and render, and then we would have that output. And that wouldn't have been conducive for the Bahamas. It would have meant we're flying back to either Nassau or West Palm Beach to be able to process that data, and then we would have to fly it back by aircraft to deliver it back in theater. Now with Pix4D React, 45 minutes, we can process it right on the ground. It is an absolute game-changing possibility for the way that urban search and rescue teams and emergency managers deal with incidents like this, because it gives disaster teams the ability to rapidly assess damage right on scene. So we're really excited about Pix4D React. We're going to continue to test it. And I can tell you, as we go into the next hurricane season, as well as the fire seasons in California, React is an essential part of our toolkit at this point moving forward. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to you, OnGod.
Chris, I really do appreciate that. I think it's amazing work that you guys are doing and going down and being deployed in these very austere environments. And I'm glad to see that Pix4D React was able to work well. I know, for example, in another application in the hurricane in the tornadoes in Dallas, Texas, just about 6 weeks ago now, that was the same time frame that Pix4D React actually came out. And it's a similar thing here where, in the Bahamas, you're going ahead, you're flying with drones, you're processing all this data very rapidly on the desktop machine. And, a decision maker is able to look at it and say, okay, how many roofs have been blown off? How many roofs have tarps on them? And then being able to monitor that data, day by day, I think is really amazing. And being able to have all of these archival copies of precisely what happened. So I do appreciate the work you're doing. Really, really amazing, Chris. Can you just share, how does someone become, a question from the audience was, how do you become a member of DroneResponders?
Absolutely. If you're interested in working with DroneResponders or becoming a member, visit us online at DroneResponders.org. You will see a join button, at least in 2 or 3 different places on the homepage. Just click that button, fill out the information, and you'll receive a response, and you will be part of the team, and you'll be incorporated in all of our communications and our events moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. With that, we have another poll question for the audience. And just so the members of our audience know, we have been receiving questions from you guys, and I'm going to be going ahead and addressing quite a few of them at the end of the webinar, just after Coit speaks next. But before Coit goes ahead and speaks, can we just, the question is, do you use Avenza Maps? Simple yes or no question. Avenza Maps is an offline data producer. They make software. They're out of Toronto. And we just wanted to know how many folks out there are using Avenza Maps in their workflows currently in that public safety space. Awesome. And with that, thank you so much for answering that question for us. Really helpful for us here at Pix4D. And now we got the great Coit Kessler coming up as our third and final panelist of the day. Coit's name gets thrown around a lot on national, public safety related drone stuff. He is just a super nice guy. He likes to dance with roller skates. He's a big roller skater. Super good guy, and he is the program manager for Austin Fire Department's RED, or Robotic Emergency Deployment Team. And so with that, Coit, can you share how you've been a beta tester of Pix4D React, and also what your history with Pix4D as a company is overall, and essentially why you're on this webinar today?
Hangu, that's a great intro. Thanks, man. Hi, everybody. My name is Court Kessler, and I'm the program manager for the Austin Fire Department's Robotic Emergency Deployment Team. It's a mouthful. We go by Red Team for short. We've been working with unmanned systems now for just about 6 years, and we're very excited to see where this is all moving. On good, I wanted to just take a quick second to say thanks to you and the Pix4D team. And we really sincerely appreciate you reaching out to DroneResponders and including the three of us on this webinar. You know, it's no secret our community is growing rapidly, and again, it's very exciting to see how we all come together, not only during on game day, but beforehand and prep for our operations. So again, thanks for including us, and DroneResponders, thanks for making this happen, moving the program forward. So do you mind forwarding to the next slide real quick? Great. So to begin the conversation here, our take on it is from the fire side, is what exactly are we using React for? And so far we found it to be a very capable product to, as our two previous speakers mentioned, to capture images and rapidly process them, and that is to answer some very basic questions for our incident commanders and the community that we serve. The images that you're looking at here are a prescribed burn, and this is a fire that we intentionally set. We either mechanically remove or through fire remove fuels, and on this island or the peninsula that you're seeing here, we took images of 146 acres essentially, and it equated to 731 images from the drone. And the real value was in the time it took to not only capture but process this shot. And what we're doing as an example here is being able to capture these images and very rapidly provide our stakeholders, our community, a quantitative measurement of how much this in this case prescriptive service worked or did not. In the real world, if you'll go to the next slide, please. When we're in operations, the common question that comes out from our community is, you know, what happened when this wildfire or fire came through your area? And the question from the media and from our community is always the exact same. I mean, every time it's the same way: is how many acres did you burn? How many houses were affected? And in the past, using PixMapper, we were able to provide that information, but it wasn't as fast. And using React, we've been able to show very quickly, not only tell the media or incident commanders, but actually show them that this is the amount of acreage that has been affected. And as you heard through both Chris and Drew, we're able to draw images or measurements around the perimeter and be able to place icons within the map to be able to share and show just what happened when fire affected our space. The big selling points here for us, and I think as we're moving forward within our community, is we have to have systems that work independent of the cloud. We have to work on something that is machine-based, and React is able to meet that. We have to have something that's very fast. And as I mentioned, from the time we took those 731 images to having a processed product, it was 37 minutes, and that was a real testament to the speed at which this product was able to operate. And that was just on a regular computer. As Angud had mentioned, it wasn't anything that was just ripping through. Affordability, I know who I'm speaking to on the line here and who the community we represent. It has to be something that's going to be underneath our capital purchases. It has to fall within reasonable purchasing levels. And I think OnGood will give you guys a price here in a minute, but this is something that everybody in public safety can and should be able to afford. And last but not least is the final bullet here is collaboration. DroneResponders is doing a really good job with pulling us all together and being able to act as a voice for the organizations in which we represent. Pix4D has done a great job with being an ear and listening to what those problems are and taking our words and our considerations to heart and then providing a solution. So I think we need to be using, as a community, we need to be using the word collaboration a lot more, and we need to come up with products like this that answer our needs. So I guess with that wraps up my time here, and I look forward to any questions. Thank you.
Coit, really appreciate it. You know, it's really special to have the three gentlemen that just presented on this webinar. I think that, you know, for them just to simply share the story of what you guys have been doing and how you've been using a new tool like drones and photogrammetry and you know, image stitching algorithms it's a big deal, you know, because quite frankly, from my perspective, Pix4Dreact, that's our feel-good product. This is the product that we've put out there, that we've built based on the input from the public safety realm, because I want the folks in my own community, the folks that serve my own family, to be able to have the latest and greatest tools. And just like Coy was saying, that was one of the biggest influences in the business decision of how do we price this product? Because my goal is that any drone that's sold to an agency has a copy of Pix4Dreact with it, because I really believe in the ability to get the latest and greatest intel at the last moment in order to ensure that the public safety world becomes safer itself. So once again, thank you so much, Coit, for being on here. This is that real quick summary of Pix4Dreact. Why we built this product is it's fast, it's really simple to use, it's affordable, it works on the existing hardware that folks already have. It can be used for a multitude of different applications, from tactical planning for warrant deliveries like Drew talked about, to demonstrative maps where we can show what an incident looked like and we can make those measurements, to, okay, there's a search and rescue application and you have to map out a very large area in order to be able to then divide it into grids, et cetera, to get the latest and greatest map. That is what Pix4Dreact is designed for. There were quite a few questions from the audience in regards to ground control points. I'll address that in a moment. Sorry, really quickly before we get into that question, here is a Pix4Dreact flight and processing checklist. You're going to get this as a PDF copy in a follow-up email after the webinar, as well as a recording of the webinar. We made this flight processing checklist so that you could print this out, laminate it, put it in your drone case, and anybody could simply open it, and very quickly, by following a list of instructions or just by following the workflow, you're going to be able to use Pix4Dreact. Pix4Dreact is an incredibly easy software to use. I did a demo at the Airborne Public Safety Association conference in Columbus, Ohio, a couple months ago, and one of the gentlemen, a police officer in the room, I had him take his department-issued tough book, download Pix4Dreact, and provide a live demo to a high number of, about 40 other police officers, and that was an individual who would only open that software for the very first time that very day. And I think that the reason that we do that is to show people that you can follow a list of basic instructions and you can get that map and get that deliverable. When a product has to be built for folks that are doing, hard and powerful work out there in the real world, you shouldn't have to think about using the tool. You should just be able to use it. And I think that Pix4Dreact, as being a very simple software solution, is something that can be used easily to make measurements, to annotate what a site looks like, etc. And so with that, I think we'll go to the next aspect of this, which is the pricing and licensing. Like Coit was saying, we price this not to make a lot of money. I mean, obviously Pix4D it's an organic company, which means that we have gotten very limited to no venture capital funding. We have grown to the size we have, and we've developed the name we have purely based off the sales of the software itself. And with Pix4Dreact, like I said, that's that feel-good use case. We want to be able to produce a tool and a software that can really do a lot of good out there. And so the perpetual license which is only available through direct resellers or vendors, is $990. And this is this is a price, you own it forever. It's a $990 one-seat desktop license that you own forever. In addition, we made the monthly license $39 a month, just in case someone really needed it. They could go online and either download a trial or purchase it for $39 off the website, so that it could be really accessible by almost anybody in any department. So the name of the game with this one is accessibility, usability, and to have folks actually utilize this and really implement drone mapping. We're trying to aim for that mass proliferation, because I believe, and Pix4D believes in the power of this tool, and a lot of other people do too. And that's why we're getting the response from the community that we are, is that this is a really powerful tool that people can use. And so with that, I think now we want to address a couple questions from the audience. The first thing that I want to talk about is ground control points. We got a lot of questions from folks about ground control points. So Pix4Dreact does not do ground control points. What ground control points are essentially high resolution GPS measurements that you can add into your map so that you can really tighten up the accuracy. Pix4Dreact is not designed to be a survey tool. Pix4Dreact is designed to be an incredibly fast, lightweight photogrammetry algorithm to get people maps when they need them the most in an operational application. So with that, it is not a survey tool. It is not, you're not making, it's not a survey tool. I think that's the easiest way to say it. So there are no ground control points. If you need a survey grade map, you're still going to use Pix4D Mapper, just like Drew was saying in the beginning. If he needs to testify in court to the level of accuracy of a measurement, you want to be doing that in Pix4D Mapper, which is our flagship solution. And for all other applications in public safety, we want to be pushing Pix4Dreact because it's so much easier to use and so much faster, etc. Now, how accurate is React itself? Well, it's pretty accurate. It's going to be a couple inches. Sometimes it's going to be an inch, sometimes it's going to be half an inch error, sometimes it's going to be 3 or 4 inches error. It really depends on what you're looking at and the camera and the drone that you're using, as well as what the overlap is. With Pix4Dreact, you can get away with less overlap than you could with Pix4D Mapper. You can fly 60% front, 60% side overlap, and it will work. But if you fly with that 75% front overlap, 70% side overlap, you're going to get a little bit prettier of a map. And so it is very accurate. I mean, one of our test cases, for example, the video that we processed in the very beginning, there is a Chevy Tahoe, a police cruiser in that. And if you measurement, it comes out to about 2 inches of accuracy of the measurement of that vehicle. So Pix4Dreact is certainly inaccurate. I mean, Drew, as a collision reconstructionist, you've measured stuff in React. Would you say that my answer was acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely going to be within those several inches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not going to be centimeter level, but it's going to be within a couple inches. So we really want to make sure people get that out there. Somebody else asked, does React work with any other flight programming applications? Maybe I'll give that to Coit. Coit, have you used any other flight apps? So you can use any flight app you want with Pix4Dreact. As long as the images are collected clear and in focus, you can use it. So I don't know, Coit, have you used any other flight apps other than Pix4D Capture?
Yeah, so we do use another app. We fly with DroneSense here locally, and that has found to be a good collection app for us. But as mentioned, I can't make a plug for any particular organization. I can just say that if you're able to gather the image, the algorithm is going to put it together, and that's where the value is at.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Coit. Yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate to people out there that you do not have to use Pix4D Capture, which is our free flight application, if you don't want to. As long as you collect those images with the correct levels of overlap and they're clear and in focus, they will work. And once again, they will work with the majority of drones on the market today. Most of the DJI devices, the Parrot and Afi, will soon support the Autel Evo. It works with all of the SenseFly products, the Wingtra products, Arion Sky Ranger, and a couple others out there as well. So it works with the most popular drone models that are being used in public safety itself. Someone else from the audience asked, what's the max area that React can be used for? So I, on my own computer, which is a little bit more powerful, have tested up to about 1,000 images, no problem, processed within about 25, 28 minutes on my powerful machine. Internally, the engineers have tested very, very large data sets, and they say that on powerful machines, we haven't had an issue. From the public safety realm itself, from a fire department in Texas, they did, not quite somebody else's, they were doing some mapping, and on their department issued computers, they had a little trouble putting maps together that were 2,000 images plus. So what we advised at that moment was, and by the way, 2,000 images is like 100 acres, 120 acres in land. So it's a very large area. You just process 2,000 acres and then process the next, 2,000 images, then process the next section of 2,000 images, and you can load those all together. You can tile them in another software, or you can simply just look at them separately. So, and know that the more powerful computer, React will be able to handle it. But once again, we've done a lot of benchmarking and testing on smaller projects that are more common to the realm of public safety, as well as on those computers that folks already have. So with that, I'm just going to look at my, no more questions from the audience. So just thank you so much for everyone joining us here today. We have a final thank you to DroneResponders, to Drew, to Coit, to Chris Todd. Here on the screen, we have some of the contact information. If you want to reach out to me directly, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, just feel free to email us.sales@pix4d.com. info@droneresponders.org is the best email for drone responders. And once again, Drew, Coit, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Here at Pix4D, I do really appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing out there. And thanks for serving the public. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Angad.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one last shout out, Chelsea Cox. Thank you so much for keeping us organized. Really do appreciate it. Chelsea is does the marketing for Pix4Dreact here in North America, and comes from a public safety family. So we do appreciate that as well. Once again, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. In an email follow-up that will be sent out from the Pix4D marketing team, you'll get a recorded copy of the webinar, a PDF version of that checklist, as well as you always have the freedom to email us, and as well as, you're getting a trial. You can get a 30-day trial license as well. If you have a Pix4D account already, just go to pix4d.com, go to the Pix4Dreact webpage on our website, download the software, and log in with your normal Pix4D account, and it will automatically give you a 30-day trial. And if you don't have a Pix4D account, well, it's super simple. You just go right on the website, say Pix4Dreact, try for free, and download it, make an account, log in, and start mapping. And with that, happy mapping, and thank you to all those who are listening. We really do appreciate it.